Hey, welcome back to this mini lecture. This one's all the news that's fit to fake, the emergence of fake news. Part 2. Thanks for coming back. This article we'll be talking about is about fake news farms. Welcome to Macedonia. Macedonia, Central Europe, they had a uh, sort of a post-industrial decline. Unemployment rates kind of low, or unemployment rates kind of high. GDP low, a lot of unemployed teens, and as a result, some of them got involved in fake news farms during the 2016 election. We're going to talk a little bit about the fake news complex. Why did this complex occur individually, and why did this complex occur as a group? Here's some quotes. You can think about the answers at the bottom, the questions at the bottom, and try to answer them yourselves. And I'll give my take on it. These Macedonians on Facebook didn't care if Trump won or lost the White House. They only wanted pocket money to pay for things: a car, watches, better cell phones, more drinks at the bar. This is the arrhythmic, disturbing heart of the affair, that the internet made it so simple for these young men to finance their material whims, and that their actions helped deliver such momentous consequences. Uh, can we disincentivize fake news production? So it doesn't really matter. Like, this article talks about the 2016 election. Trump won. Things are very political these days. It doesn't really matter so much about that. Just the idea that there was fake news done on at multiple levels. The ones that were about Trump were more popularized because I think he's just more of an engaging media figure than Ms. Clinton. And just the bigger point is, when people are poor, unemployment rates are high, people need to make money, and making fake news is a way to buy car, watches, cell phones, drinks at the bar. How do we disincentivize that? Ultimately, it's probably up to the platforms to identify fake news production and demonetize it, disincentivize it. Companies used to designate exactly where they wanted their ads to appear. Now they increasingly rely on automated advertising, a system that matches ads to anonymized profiles of consumers based on data like what they have searched for. We live in an era when automated advertising is on the rise. How do we manage it? It is so lucrative for platforms to do this automated advertising. It would be incredibly difficult to do anything otherwise. So that's good for the platforms, and not good because it creates things like filter bubbles where people are fed certain advertising and other content that appeals to them and people of their profile. I'm not saying any profile is good or bad. It's just that they get that kind of content. It's automated. It's machine driven, algorithmically driven advertising content. If the algorithm is a black box that we know nothing about, except for it maximizes matching advertising to consumers, how do you stop that? There's no incentive for the companies to do it. I'm going to do a quick little activity: trusting the news as of 2017. This is from a Pew Research article. The percentage of what percentage of Americans do you think trust the news they get from the news information they get from local news, friends and family, national news, or social media? Basically, where do you think a typical American would trust the most out of these four options: local news, friends and family, national news, social media? And try to rank them from highest to lowest. Do you think local news is where people get their most trusted information from? Friends and family, national news, social media? Hopefully you've answered or thought about it. This is the answer. 82% trust the news they get from local news, then 77% from friends and family, 76% from national news, and 34% is social media, way down there. Less than half of the other options. Why do you think the news sources are ranked this way? What does it say about the news industry? Fake news. I'm really troubled by the friends and family being so high, because if you have friends and family that are well educated, know about fake news, know about high quality news, they will share good local news, national news, etc., through platforms like social media, etc. If the opposite is in fact the case, which can be the case, spreading information, misinformation, fake news, etc., that's bad. I wish local news and national news were ahead. I like the idea that local news is trusted more because they live in your community. You probably have an affiliation for these people. You can hold them accountable to what's going on locally. National news, because it's often done by definition from bigger outlets in major cities, if you live not in those areas, you should trust it a little bit less than your local news friends. I don't know why, like, I think I understand reasons why people rank them this way. Again, I wish they were ranked in different ways. Again, local news and national news being higher than friends and family and social media. I wonder what it says about the news industry and fake news. Where do we go from here? You might be thinking, oh, Macedonia is so far away. What do you think is the geographical spread of fake news? Is it propagated internationally and not domestically? Perhaps that is incorrect. I don't know if you've heard of the Buffalo Chronicle. Here's a quote from the article. Matthew Ricciazzi, who is the person who runs it, has written debunk stories about Canadian politics and once told a U.S. candidate he published negative articles about their opponents for $400 apiece. Is there any difference really between the Buffalo Chronicle and Macedonian fake news? This person, say if he runs and largely operates the site, if he's going to be getting paid $400 a piece for negative articles about an opponent, under the guise of it being a real news site, it looks kind of like a real news site, kinda. It sounds, Buffalo Chronicle sounds legitimate. There really is no difference. In conceptually, basically it's someone making up stuff for money. And apparently during the last Canadian election, people were interested. Buffalo's at the border of Canada, and people thought it was like, oh, I'm going to go for an international perspective on my country, and apparently it did well. So personally, I don't think there's a big difference. It's just, maybe you make more in a different country, etc., etc. Here's another quick article: How technology disrupted the truth. How does the new tech threaten the truth? Why is this important? Are there ways to help the press, society tell the truth? Here's a quote about Brexit. Brexit was the first major vote in the era of post-truth politics. The listless Remain campaign attempted to fight fantasy with facts, but quickly found out that the currency of fact had been badly debased. When a fact begins to resemble whatever you feel is true, it becomes very difficult for anyone to tell the difference between facts that are true and facts that are not. It felt like, unfortunately, in a lot of elections and politics these days and other major issues, we live in a post-truth political world where a fact is less important than how it makes you feel. I don't know, it's really difficult to have facts matter and truth matter when people care a little bit less about that than supporting their side, whichever side that is. In the digital age, it is easier than ever to publish false information, which is quickly shared and taken to be true. What has come to these struggles, and that what makes their resolution and urgent matters that they all involve the diminishing status of truth. How do we deal with publishing fake news? How do we restore the status of truth? In the article, Catherine Viner talks about hammering a sort of an incident, a fictional incident between the old British Prime Minister David Cameron, about him doing something quite tasteless, and then it was in fact untrue, completely unsourced, completely speculative. When journalists don't keep themselves accountable, how do we as the public begin to believe what's being published and broadcast to us? Here's from Danielle Citron. People forward on what others think, even if the information is false, misleading, or incomplete, because they think they have learned something valuable. How do we improve this sharing impulse? It's nice to share. It's good that people trust their family and friends to give them something. If what you've learned is purely confirmation bias and is not based in facts and truth, and you're learning something that's in fact false, how do we stop that? Like, it's really, really difficult. How do platforms police this? Is it up to platforms to do that? Here's someone talking about Brexit. It sounds like a Remainer, so he was against Brexit. So he was getting all presumably Remain information. Here he was looking for Brexit information, the other side, after they won, to see what the other side is saying. Here's a quote: I am actively searching through Facebook for people celebrating the Brexit victory, but the filter bubble is so strong and extends so far into things like Facebook's customer search that I can't find anyone who's happy, despite the fact that over half the country is clearly jubilant today, despite the fact that I'm actively looking to hear what they are saying. This person, we're all in some kind of filter bubble where we're aggregated together with people like ourselves. If this person is actually trying to actively break out of their filter bubble on Facebook, and this would happen presumably on other social media outlets, If we don't even know we're in a filter bubble for the most part, we get news and content that we just assume is everyone else is getting. When we can't even find stuff like this, where we're actively looking for people on the other side of a pervasive issue, that's going to make our beliefs more concrete, our ability to understand what the other side's even talking about more difficult. This is one of my favorite quotes about social media. It is maybe the best one about what's going on today. It's from Emily Bell from the Toe Center at Columbia. Social media hasn't just swallowed journalism, friends. It has swallowed everything. It has swallowed political campaigns, banking systems, personal histories, the leisure industry, retail, even government security. Just in terms of political campaigns, you need to go on social media to have any type of legitimate campaign, especially for young people in present days. Facebook, in terms of banking systems, is proposing the Libra currency, so it's social media plus banking. What is personal histories? What is a profile other than, and a timeline other than you presenting personal facts and a chronology of those things online? That's a personal history. The leisure industry. What better way to have your cool place that's unknown be profiled than to have some Instagram influencer showing his or her looking great and fabulous in front of a beautiful building or place? Retail. How can you sell stuff these days to young consumers without being on social media and having, again, great people looking great with your products and services? And even government security. People in government need to get their messages out. What better way than through Twitter, Facebook, etc. And I wonder, what is the impact of this large scale swallowing? A lot of these industries, banking is going to be disrupted, political campaigns have been disrupted. We have all of our information online, accessible to people we don't even know. Traditional leisure industry like agents for travel agents losing their jobs. Retail stores are shuttering. They're changing the way they do their commerce. Government is transparent, which is good. Well, at least some things are maybe better because of this. Another quote. Publications curated by editors have in many cases been replaced by a stream of information chosen by friends, contacts, and families, processed by secret algorithms. The diversity that the World Wide Web had originally envisioned has given way to the centralization of information inside a select few social networks, and the end result is making it all less powerful in relation to government and corporations. What is the impact of news curation away from prose? If your contacts, family, are not sophisticated consumers of mass media, they're giving you misinformation. They're propagating it. People that we care about and love can unfortunately give us information that's bad for us. And again, the diversity of the internet. John Perry Barlow's thoughts in Davos of a decentralized network have become more centralized in these apps and platforms. This is a great Jürgen Habermas quote from 2007. When reorganization and cost cutting in this core area, journalism and fact collecting, jeopardize accustomed journalistic standards, it hits the very heart of the political public sphere. Because, one, without the flow of information gained through extensive research, and two, without the stimulation of arguments based on an expertise that doesn't come cheap, public communication loses its discursive vitality. The public media would then cease to resist populist tendencies and can no longer fulfill the function it should in the context of a democratic constitutional state. We see what happens. There is much more in terms of, on social media platforms, less flow of extensively researched information and informed arguments, more misinformation and just yelling. As a result, populist tendencies have risen across the world, where authoritarian populist leaders know how to get people to feel strong things and to use those urges against us, and to maybe not do the best, most informed ruling and tending to their people. Facts and reliable information are essential for the functioning of democracy, and the digital era has made that even more obvious. And the prevailing mood is anti-elite and anti-authority. Trust in big institutions, including the media, begins to crumble. What is the impact of having a common fact base? Is there impact of decrease in trust? You can see today, across the globe, there's an anti-elite posture of people. People do not believe in authority. big institutions are not trusted. The media is not trusted, and faith in these institutions crumbles. Again, I want people to trust institutions to some extent. If they're doing good stuff, we trust them. We mistrust them when they're not being transparent, they're not governing well, they're not providing services we need. But there needs to be a basic level of trust. When it's too much the other side and no one trusts these things at all, when there are big catastrophes going on, climate change, viruses spreading around the globe, etc., that can make democracy not function, and basic services and things that we need from governments and the media and other institutions, it becomes chaotic, a little too chaotic from my personal opinion. So there you have it. I apologize, it's a little bit longer than normal. That was all the news that's fit to fake, the emergence of fake news, part 2. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.